Where else would you rather be? I'm Paul Clifford, CEO of the Penn State Alumni Association. Welcome to the People of Penn State. Each week on the podcast, you can expect to hear the voices of Penn Staters talking about what they're passionate about, and you can expect to feel the pride and the power of the Penn State network. Well, we have a really important story to pass on to you today. Emily Turner is joining us. She is the co-founder and current board member of Patrick's Purpose Foundation. It's a Southern California based nonprofit focused on improving mental health and wellness of teens and young adults in honor of her youngest brother, Patrick, who died by suicide in 2018. She's passionate about her communities and changing how people view mental health and wellness. She is a 2017 graduate of Penn State with degrees in supply chain and information systems. A native of Southern California, but she currently lives in Philadelphia. She enjoys cheering on all Philly sports and Penn State sports teams and exploring new parts of the city. She is sporting her Philadelphia Phillies gear today. Please welcome to the podcast, Emily Turner.
Thank you so much. Listen to that intro.
Yeah, Emily,
excited.
Welcome.
Thank you. Very honored to be here.
Let's start right at the beginning, right? Southern California native. How'd you become a Nittany Lion?
Really, wanted to get out of Southern California, I think straight from high school. I'm from Orange County. It is a beautiful place. I did not personally feel like it was the best fit for me. So I was of the mentality that if I'm going somewhere on a plane, it could be Oregon or it could be central Pennsylvania. And so visited a bunch of Big Ten schools, really wanted kind of like the big football, the big school spirit, acute downtown, and Penn State checked all of those boxes. So did not consider weather when I was picking a school, but it ended up working out, and I loved my 4 years there.
Excellent. So you loved your 4 years here at Penn State. What were you involved in as a student?
I'd say my biggest involvement, I was pretty involved with my sorority when I was on campus. I was a member of Pi Beta Phi. I held a couple different positions on there, executive or one position on the executive board and a couple different positions during my time. But not knowing anybody out of high school, going to Penn State, I really wanted to kind of dive into a community and just like find my group of people right away. So Greek life for sure helped a lot with that. And all of those girls that I went to school with are still my best friends. And, through that, it was a really easy way to be involved with Thon and, just getting involved in the community and kind of everything like that. So it did check off a lot of boxes for me right there.
So we're gonna dive into the work that you're doing with Patrick's Purpose Foundation in just a minute, but you graduate in 2017 with degrees in supply chain and information systems. Talk a little bit about your career and where that degree's taken you.
Definitely. I graduated with a job in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, so about 15 miles outside of Philadelphia. So moved to Philly pretty much right after graduation. I was working for Willis Towers Watson, which is a benefits administration company, kind of doing a lot of the back end work with them for clients. So the informations portion of my degree certainly helped there. And after a bit, I was really looking forward to kind of working directly in Philadelphia, and two, getting into a little bit more of a kind of finance and numbers based role. So I then started at Comcast on the accounting team, worked there about through, I want to say, October of 2020. And decided that it was time to move back to good old Southern California during the pandemic. And moved back to Southern California for about 3 years. Southern California is one of the hubs for commercial real estate. So I started working for an owner operator there, moved into banking, commercial real estate banking with Bank of America. And then I had visited Philly once over the pandemic and realized that my decision to leave was a poor one. So this last June, so June of 2023, I moved back to Philadelphia and started back working at Comcast with my same team, doing a very similar role. So a long-winded way to say that I've been with Comcast for total almost 4 years.
Right.
It was definitely a jig and a jog to get there, but yeah, so I work for the program accounting team. So we do the accounting for kind of all of the licensing fees that are paid.
Excellent. This is the People of Penn State. I'm Paul Clifford. I'm joined today by Emily Turner. She is the co-founder of Patrick's Purpose Foundation. So, Emily, can you share with us the story of Patrick and what inspired you to start Patrick's Purpose Foundation in his honor?
Certainly. So my youngest brother, Patrick, died by suicide at age 16 in 2018. So pretty much right after I graduated, about 6 months after I graduated. I was living in Philadelphia, and it was just the most like out of the blue news I think I've ever received. You really never expect it to be you, but I think in particular, like this was something that, we even look back now and we had no idea. He let on really no signs to us that he was struggling so deeply. And so the one thing that I think are grateful for is that he did leave us 3 letters, 1 letter to our family, with just kind of something individually written out for each of us. And then 1 letter to our community as a whole, that was really about nobody cares about the, person with good character. We're all just here trying to see who can, get the better test score, get into the better college, or it's never about the kid with, a lot of heart. And it's always like, we're just checking boxes and we're just trying to get each, see how many boxes we can check. And if we're checking more boxes than the next person. And he very clearly was, so unhappy with that type of mentality. And he really charged us to make a lot of changes. And the high school that we all went to is, extremely competitive, and everybody's taking, as many APs as possible and trying to, if you're not getting into an Ivy League school, it's like, well, where did you go wrong? And it's just not, I think it was such a big wake up call for everybody that, that is not how anyone wants to live their life, or really should be the metrics of, what made it a good life. And so on the heels of his, declaration that we need to really make changes, we decided to start Patrick's Purpose Foundation. And it has really grown into, I think, something a lot larger than we would have thought back in 2018. But I'm so glad that we've done it, because the changes that we've seen are pretty, a lot bigger than what I would have thought I would see in my lifetime.
So for those who may not know, what is the primary mission of Patrick's Purpose Foundation?
So Patrick's Purpose is really trying to, change how we treat and, talk about mental health and mental wellness in young people and high schoolers. We have noticed that is a seriously neglected population of kids who are, feeling comfortable enough to come out and say that they need help. And then we also are just, trying to kind of create this student-driven and community-driven culture of kindness and inclusivity. I think one of the coolest things that he wrote in one of his letters was like, if somebody's sitting alone at lunch, go sit with them. It's something that is so simple, but I think that like it made everybody realize how impactful that could be. And so I think we've tried to take, that one line and expand it into, this movement of, go check in on your people and let's make sure that they're doing okay. And if not, that they feel like they have a space that they can speak up.
So when you think back about Patrick and his passions and his characteristics, which ones kind of stand out to you that influence the mission of the foundation?
Definitely. So Patrick is the youngest of the four of us. Including him, I have three younger brothers. So he grew up certainly maybe a bit faster. I think he probably watched more SpongeBob than he was watching Sesame Street, which maybe we would have done differently. But I think that he was so much more just inquisitive and like he really cared to a level that I don't know that I did I think I have just gotten to like his level of how he saw the world. He just really was so selfless in his view of the people around him. And while I certainly would go back and do everything I could to change the permanent decision that he made, I do think that he left everybody with this just unbelievable viewpoint of a different way to see the world. Especially as a 16-year-old. And we heard so many stories after he passed away. I think it was like they had rebuilt the middle school. Our high school was a middle and a high school. So it was 7th through 12th grade, kind of all on the same campus. And they eventually shifted, just to the middle school, or they built them a separate building, but it had a ton of stairs. And somebody was like, oh yeah, there was a blind girl in his art class and he helped her walk up and down the stairs every day. And there was you had to wear like closed-toed shoes to science class. And one of his best friends from like all through elementary school wore flip-flops every day. And their classes were next to each other when that boy had science class. And he would just run out the door and yell shoes. And Patrick would like throw his Converse to this kid who needed closed-toed shoes. So I think just his selflessness and just the way that he really cared for other people was, so advanced for his actual age. And I think that we try really hard to kind of emulate that now. And, if I could give half of the, sensitivity that he did to other people in this world, I feel like I'm doing an unbelievable job.
Yeah, even up until the very end, it seemed like he had other people on his mind, right? I mean, for a 16-year-old to write 3 letters shows a maturity beyond that age.
Absolutely, yeah. And he had he made sure he had his license on him. They were typed out, they weren't printed, but he left his computer password in his wallet. And there was just it was truly unfortunately, it was so thought out, but I think at the end, it kept especially my mom and dad from having to kind of rack their brains as to what could have happened. And of course we would change it, but I think that we're all very thankful to have some sense of closure around it. And he made that possible.
Yeah. So it seems like, in my lifetime, I have seen how people have looked at mental health. It's kind of been an evolution, and you're half my age. So you've probably seen even some of this in your lifetime, though. It's such an important topic and yet sensitive, right? And
absolutely,
especially amongst young people. How does your foundation tackle the stigma around mental health in schools and communities?
A couple things that we've done, I know in schools in particular, we really started it at my high school, or at the high school that we all went to. And it is offering scholarships for kids who are not going to a 4-year school. So whether it be trade school or vocational school or community college, anything like that, most high schools, I think, have an award ceremony at the end of the year for seniors. And those kids never get any sort of award usually. It's everybody going to 4-year schools, which there's nothing wrong with that, but that isn't the path for everyone. And we want to really make sure that we're recognizing these kids who are still going to study, and probably going to go on to be doctors, some of them, and all of these, careers that we reward so highly. We want to reward the entire path, not just the end, what's at the end. And so that is a big thing that we're doing in high schools. And we are having right now, actually, it happened yesterday. We are working with, several doctors in the community and kind of trying to put on parent forums. I want it once or twice a year. Because as much as, kids are going through it, if they don't feel like they have a trusted adult at home to talk about it with, a lot of these problems can go unsolved. So kind of trying to not only, make, younger people feel more comfortable with it, but also trying to, match that with, teaching a parent how to, appropriately kind of enter these conversations with their kids. And then at the younger level, we have started their benches called buddy benches that we have placed at several elementary schools in Southern California. And hopefully, if all goes to plan, I will be leading the charge to place some of them on the East Coast as well. But they're called buddy benches. And the theory behind them is if you're sitting on the buddy bench, it kind of signals to your peers that you are going through a rough time and could use another friend to talk to, or you could use some help. And so we'll go and kind of do a presentation with the school and let them know how to use the bench. And those we've gotten feedback, and those seem to be, really well received among the elementary schools that we place them at. So trying to kind of hit it at all ends of the age spectrum, I think, has been successful, because it does seem to fall apart a little bit, or the discussion seems to fall apart a little bit if not everybody is on the same page of, no, this is a big deal and we do need to take this seriously. So we're trying to, hit as many age groups as possible. And I think that I also have to give a lot of credit to, just this generation of college kids that are entering college and later in high school are so much more just aware and in tune with it. And when I lived in Southern California, I was coaching high school lacrosse for a couple of years, and those girls were years beyond what I remember high school being like. So, they're doing such a better job advocating for themselves, and I think that's really encouraging to see.
So, running a foundation in the memory of a loved one must be both rewarding and emotionally challenging.
Yeah, and with your mother.
Yeah, exactly. How do you stay motivated and maintain your well-being while doing this important work?
Definitely in therapy myself, fully advocating for that. That's what works well for me. And, I think in the beginning when I first started, I started probably far later than I should have, but my brother passing away is kind of what got me going, and I haven't stopped since. And in 2018 when I started, I was like, oh yeah, no, I have this doctor's appointment, and now I'm well, who wants to talk about my therapy appointment? Which most people don't, but I think that we were given such specific instructions from him to actually do something about this. I know that is what motivates me a lot. And I think that we've seen, like, I don't get them, but I know that my mom, who really is, the executive director, if you will, of the foundation, like twice a month, she'll have a parent or somebody in confidence reach out to her and say, we need to take some emergency action for a kid right now. And that has now happened enough times to know that we have potentially prevented another family from going through what we have gone through. I could do this for years. I could do this in perpetuity, just off of knowing that, this is actually helping somebody else. I won't say it's not without challenges, because we certainly, are emotional about it. But I think at the end of the day, knowing that this is like very much changing somebody's life, on the other end of it, it does feel really good. And it feels like we're doing the right thing.
Yeah. Beyond the personal and the emotional challenges that you're facing, what are some of the other challenges that you're coming up against in running a foundation?
I think especially at the beginning, it was hard. It was hard to get schools to buy into this. I think the conversation around this has changed so much in 6 years, that even right after this happened, it was not easy to kind of break into schools. Nobody wanted to, like, I don't know if it was nobody wanted to admit that it was a problem, or what the tough part about it was. But it was kind of a little bit hard to get in with high schools, especially high schools that we were closer with. And so that has changed pretty significantly, which feels really good that, especially the high school where this happened, the tune has completely shifted, and we're, I'd say, a decently sized presence on their campus now. But I think that just the challenge right at the beginning of getting somebody to want to listen to this, who was in like the position of power, I suppose, to make the change. We had to be patient, and we definitely had to kind of get creative in how we were, messaging, and kind of figuring out what the right medium and what the right, thing to do that both administration, teachers, and students were going to latch on to make a lasting change. So I think that, it took a minute, but we did get there. And now we are in such a better place. But those first few years were, and could be so stubborn. And I just remember there were calls with my mom, and I was like, just shove it down their throat. And she was like, we can't do that. And so I think that, like, the patience of waiting for this to catch on, was kind of tough at the beginning, especially when, like, the emotions were still so high from it.
So I would imagine in this work that partnerships with schools and communities are critical. Can you talk, and there's a Penn State connection here, so could you talk a little bit about how you all have gotten involved with CAPS here at Penn State? For those who might not be familiar with the acronym, CAPS is Counseling and Psychological Services at Penn State.
Yeah. So I want to say it was right around this time last year. I had started to kind of think, where can we, we had done a good job fundraising, and I was trying to find, like, where can we go next? And what can we do that is a little bit of a different donation that we have done before. And I was thinking about like research, and there just frankly aren't that many like active research studies on suicide in particular. And that's kind of what we were looking at. And if they were, I just couldn't find them. But so I started emailing, just kind of cold emailing a couple schools. And then was, of course, like, oh, duh, Penn State, because they are far and away the most robust, I think, on-campus mental health care system that we have seen. And so I just sent a cold email, and, I figured I was going to get like a zillion responses back, because we were like, we have money that we're looking to give. Who wants it? And they were the only school also to respond. But a happy accident. I couldn't be more thrilled that we were able to connect with Kate Totino in fundraising and donor relations, and the CAPS team. But we kind of spoke with her for a bit, kind of trying to figure out, where we were looking to have the most impact, how our foundation fit with what they're doing. And so we met with her team and a member of the CAPS team, or a couple members of the CAPS team, about this time last year. And it just felt like such a good fit. There was so much discussion just about like how many people and students have, kind of called upon the free sessions. Because if it's the same as when I was there, and we might need to fact check this because I can't totally remember it from a year ago, but I believe each student gets like 10 free sessions with a CAPS counselor per year. And that is so expensive. And they were just saying that the demand for it has really surged, kind of as, everybody is taking this mental health crisis, for lack of a better term, a lot more seriously, and wanting to deal with a lot of the things that they have on their plate. And that they have just been, overrun, for lack of a better term, with students who really need help, and like urgently need help. So we pledged $50,000 to the CAPS program last year. And I think that, we have made several donations to so many great organizations, but I don't think we've ever felt like our donation that we've given has gone as far as it has at CAPS. And we have a meeting with them next week to kind of really discuss the full year's impact. But to just know that there are students that are able to connect and to get that kind of care, which maybe their insurance wouldn't cover, or they just wouldn't do it without the knowledge that it's free. Because, we're not naive to the fact that as much as I think therapy is necessary, it's really expensive, and it's still not always covered under health plans. So it ends up being out of pocket for a lot of people, and especially college kids who've just made this massive life transition, and usually don't have much of an income at that point, are dealing with a big change and a probably smaller bank account, or some of the people who need this service the most. So we're really excited to hear more about what they've been up to. But just from the notes we've heard from the team and through Kate, it sounds like it's really gone a long ways to directly impact students, which is exactly what we were looking to do with this donation.
Emily, for people who are listening who might want to get involved or get more information, what's the best way that people can support Patrick's purpose, either through volunteering, donations, or just spreading awareness?
Absolutely. We're huge on spreading awareness, and a lot of it happens on Instagram. So if you're interested, we would love a follow. We're at Patrick's_purpose_foundation on Instagram. And our big fundraiser every year is we hold a community walk that's 2.6 miles because Patrick's number was 26 in baseball. So I will fly back to Southern California to do that. The walk actually falls on his birthday this year on December 21st, but I cannot expect everybody who's an East Coast Penn Stater to fly back with me. So we do also have a Philadelphia version of the walk that will be on December 14th this year at the Art Museum steps in Philly. So that'll be online. That'll be all over our Instagram, and the website is www.patrickspurposefoundation.org. So lots of good info there and on our Instagram.
And for those of you who are watching this on YouTube, we are scrolling that Instagram handle on the bottom. For those of you who are listening to the podcast, you'll find that in our show notes. This is the People of Penn State. I'm Paul Clifford. I'm joined today by Emily Turner. She's the co-founder of Patrick's Purpose Foundation. So, Emily, at the end of our program, we like to maybe dig a little deeper into your Penn State experience with some quick hitter questions. And so I'll throw a couple at you. So Perfect. First, your favorite class at Penn State.
I think that my favorite class, I know it's going to sound so weird to anybody who took it with me, but Accounting 211, hardest class I took, but I use everything now in my job.
That's great. How about your favorite Penn State moment?
I have a couple. One, the Michigan win my freshman year. I think it was right around Halloween weekend. I was going to say it was the triple overtime win. And then the Ohio State win my senior year.
Wow, those are great bookends.
They were really good bookends, yeah.
Yeah, two of our most iconic games. And that you started with Michigan, which was I believe it was it 3 overtimes or 4? It might have been. I don't know, but it was.
I want to say 4 now that you're saying it.
Yeah. I have Bill Belton signed my helmet here.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, Bill Belton signed it, and it was 4 overtimes because he drew the play on the back.
Wow.
In the 4th overtime. So,
wow.
Yeah, and 4 overtimes. That was a great night in Beaver Stadium.
Yes, it was.
How about if you could have dinner with anyone, who would it be and why?
Ooh, anyone? I think that it would probably be Kobe Bryant. I would love to know, I want to know if that work ethic is born or what he did to harness it. I just think that the athleticism and also the drive to win is so special.
The Mamba mentality, right?
Exactly. Yes. Fellow Newport Beach resident.
Yeah. And you're connected on both ends of that, right? I mean, because Kobe was an LA guy for his career. He grew up in Philadelphia or the Philadelphia area.
Yeah.
What has been your most unusual We Are moment? So maybe an unusual or unexpected place that either someone yelled "We Are" to you because they recognized you as a Penn Stater, or you saw another Penn Stater and yelled it out to them.
In Newport Beach, where I grew up, there's a really cute community called Balboa Island, and there is a Penn Stater who lives on Balboa Island, and it's a waterfront, so it's a really nice walk, and we would go walk my family's dogs there occasionally when I was home from breaks and stuff. And I was so checked out, over Christmas break. I wasn't even, I don't know that I was of course wearing something Penn State. But I would just hear "We Are" yelled from somebody's balcony. And I was so thrown off because I was so not in my Penn State area.
Sure.
But it was a lesson that every Penn Staters are everywhere.
Absolutely. Your favorite Penn State sport?
Football.
Football.
Basketball was close. I got to see the win over, I think it was Wisconsin last year at the Palestra, though, in Philly, though. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was awesome. And then your favorite flavor of creamery ice cream?
I'm gonna butcher this. I knew it was one that was coming up. It's their mint chip. Whatever their mint chip. Yes,
mint.
bittersweet mint. I have been trying to replicate that at ice cream shops everywhere since, and it's just not the same. But we're going to the Ohio State game, so I'm coming home I'm bringing a cooler to just load full of it.
That is great. Well, Emily, we want to thank you for joining us and sharing Patrick's story and the story of your foundation here on the People of Penn State. We're so grateful that you took time out of your schedule to talk to us.
Of course. Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And I want to thank our producer, Vincent Longaro, our guest relations coordinator, Abby Clark, for all they do to make the People of Penn State come to life. If you like this episode, I hope that you'll subscribe to the People of Penn State podcast in your favorite podcast app of choice. And while you're there, go ahead and give us a rating and drop us a review. That helps other Penn Staters find these great stories. If you're a member of the Penn State Alumni Association, thank you for your support. And if you're not yet a member, what are you waiting for? Go to our website at alumni.psu.edu. And you too can become a member of the world's largest alumni association. Thanks for tuning in and all you do for the university, for the glory, and for the future. We are